We followed the directions Randall gave us to go to the Adventurers Guild, soaking in the sights of the city along the way. It was a beautiful city with the look of medieval Europe about it. It really felt like I was in a fantasy world. It was my first time seeing this many people in one place since I had come here. I was getting very excited. Adding to my excitement were the humanoid people mixed in among the regular humans. There was a man who had animal ears and a tail, a sexy elf, a bearded dwarf, and even a guy that had insect wings. The streets were as multiracial as it could get, literally. I snuck a peek at some of the adventurers who happened to pass by. After checking out their stats, there didn't seem to be anyone weaker than Fran. A lot of them were just as strong as she was, but when it came down to skills, we won hands down in both quantity and quality. The highest I'd seen among the adventurers was one guy who had level 5 sword mastery, which made me appreciate how out of the ordinary our sword mastery was at level 7. You could definitely win a fight against a stronger opponent by outpacing them with skills. The grasslands had taught me that much. You could say a difference in raw stats wasn't as important as the difference in skills. Fran would have no problems being an adventurer. One thing did bother me, however. It was the strength of the gear the adventurers were wearing. Name: Tempered Steel Longsword. Attack: 398. MP 5. Durability 6. Mana Conductivity F. Skills none. A longsword, which I also was, had vastly greater attack power than me. It didn't matter that I was better in other fields. I had lost the raw damage contest, which was the defining trait of a sword. The material it was made of added insult to injury. It was only tempered steel, not even mithril, or orichalcum, or some other legendary alloy. I had lost to ordinary tempered steel, and that hurt me deeply. One high attack number after another passed me by, as I saw the weapons the adventurers were wielded. It seemed that 1 in 5 weapons was stronger than me. The final blow to my ego was dealt by a simple dagger which hung from a man's belt strap. Name: Mithril Dagger. Attack: 423. MP 10. Durability 700. Magic Conductivity D+. Skills none. I laughed bitterly. I was nothing but a dull, decorative talking sword who let his ego to his head since he could kill some monsters by himself. What is it? Fran, I'm no good. Huh? I explained how I was of little use as a sword if it weren't for my skills. I was probably made by a rich man who wanted a pretty-looking sword he could show off to his friends. When I was done groveling, Fran began stroking me. Are you trying to make me feel better? You have your skills, teacher. What a good girl. She was right. Even if my blade was as dull as a rock, my skills still played a supporting role. That may have been the only role I could play, but so what? That settled it. I was going to become a skill lord. I wanted to get Fran a better sword though. It'd be shame if she kept wielding something as dull as I was. We'd do best to head to the Adventurers Guild and sign up so we could start making money. Right, sorry for making you worry. I'm okay now. Let's go to the guild. My groveling took up some travel time, but we eventually made it to the Adventurers Guild. This place is huge. The guild was bigger than the buildings surrounding it, an indication of how many adventurers there were in this place. Excuse me, I shouted to no one in particular. I lacked vocal cords after all. The inside was cleaner than I anticipated. I was expecting the decor to be more like a musty, intimidating tavern, but the place looked closer to a 5-star hotel. I guessed it would have reflected poorly on the guild if they had gone with a rustic interior. In any case, a 12-year-old girl walking into an adventurers guild by herself was bound to get attention. I could feel the other adventurers stare at us as Fran walked up to the receptionist. This is the Adventurers Guild? I know. I want to sign up. Oh, okay. Are you alone? Yes. A 12-year-old girl who wanted to be an adventurer was an oddity in any world. It might help the hypothetical 12-year-old to come in decked out in full gear. For at least then, it would look like the child had been training all their life to be an adventurer. The child might even say something saucy like, "I'll have you know, I'm considered the top hunter around these parts." Fran didn't have any armor to speak of though. Her battered rag screamed, "Run away, slave!" She didn't look like she had any business being here. The receptionist did her best to hide her incredulity and carried on her explanation. Not everyone can be an adventurer. You have to pass a test. Sure. You'll have to go up against one of our members in a mock battle. Are you sure? Yes. Are you absolutely sure about this? You might get hurt. Yes, I'm sure. The guild will not be held responsible for any damages you might suffer. No problem. Okay, hang on. The surrounding adventurers began buzzing when they saw Fran was serious about taking the test. No one got in our way, but they didn't sound very welcoming of the idea. They must have been taken aback at the gall this kid had for wanting to become an adventurer. It was understandable though. I would have felt the same in their shoes. Are you okay, Fran? What? Nothing. Don't worry about it. It took a while for the receptionist to come back. Sorry to keep you waiting. Right this way. She led us to a wide enclosure surrounded by 4 walls in the back of the guild. This looked like the guild's training grounds. A grim-looking man was standing in the middle of it. The man was over 2 meters tall. He wore black, spiked armor, which looked like it came right out of the Middle Ages. His gigantic battle axe rested beside him, only adding to the intimidation factor. You could almost hear the earth rumble when you saw his face. A child probably would cry upon seeing it. As used to fighting monsters as I was, he managed to make me nervous. You're the newbie? Yeah, Fran nodded, not seemingly fazed at all. My little girl might grow up to be more terrifying than this man. The name's Donadrond. I'm the examiner here. That was a lot of D's for a man to have in his name. Your test is simple. Fight me. Fall too early and you'll fail. Okay. I'll have you know that I'm terrible at holding back. I'm giving you one last chance to leave if you don't want to get hurt. We felt an immense pressure as Donadrond shouted his warning. Was his intimidation skill kicking in? I guess we were in for a fight. Let's do this. We were about to throw down with a man named Donadrond in the guild's training area. The air was tense to the point that I might have fallen on my face to beg for mercy if I had a human body. Good thing I was a sword now. Now let's see what your stats are like. Name: Donadrond. Age: 46. Race: Ogre. Class: Warrior. Level: 38. HP: 246. Magic: 133. Strength: 198. Agility: 131. Skills: Intimidation 4. Transport 3. Increased Health Regen 5. Danger Sense 4. Instruct 4. Regeneration 5. Explosive Force 6. Earth Magic 2. Throwing Weapons 4. Poison Resistance 7. Lumberjack 3. Axe Art 6. Axe Mastery 7. Roar 3. Revive. Spirit Manipulation. Steel Body. Healing Factor. Strength Up Small. Equipment: black steel battle axe, black steel tortoise armor, saber-tooth mantle, stone dragon boots, armband of sacrifice. Holy moly, he's strong. Our stats were no match against his. He could easily outmuscle a lesser wyvern. He had so many skills, his level was high, and his gear was top-notch. Name: black steel axe, attack 650, MP 3, durability 650, magic conductivity E+. 650 attack power? That's ridiculous. But it's not like I'm jealous or anything. He also belonged to the ogre race, which I thought sounded cool. None of the adventurers I had scanned were anything compared to Donadrond. Was he really serious about not holding back? Wasn't this an examination for beginners? How was anyone supposed to pass this test? Well, only way to find out. Maybe we didn't have to beat him, and only had to show him how strong we were. Are you ready, Fran? Yep. Begin. Donadron disappeared the very next moment and blinked to Fran's side. As if his ridiculous speed wasn't enough, he swung his giant axe and split the ground of the training area. The impact was so hard that it produced a puff of smoke. Good dodge! That was close. His axe was stuck to the ground beside us, taking out a huge chunk in a display of its power. He grunted to pull the axe out of the ground, breaking more of the floor in the process. Fran's hair fluttered from the wind pressure. That attack was insane. Just being grazed by it would have probably injured us. Could anyone actually pass this test? We can't just keep running, we have to attack. We couldn't just wait and see. We had to get him with our hardest hitting attack before he obliterated us. We didn't have to worry about killing him. He was clearly strong. Plus, he had the armband of sacrifice on. It was an item which took would-be fatal damage on behalf of its user. Oh, you're a fast one. He easily blocked Fran's slash with his axe. Impressive, considering I had slightly boosted her speed and strength with a bit of magic. But that wasn't the main aim of our plan. As Fran kept Donadron busy with her sword swings, tentacles began sprouting from the ground at his feet to bind his legs. You can cast spells without incantations? Surprised, I couldn't fault him. Fran hadn't made any incantations after all. I had begun casting earth magic around his feet, knowing he would be preoccupied with keeping Fran at bay. If he had noticed the spell, Fran would have cut him down on the spot. Unable to move, Donadron was forced to fend off Fran with only his upper body. He was doing quite well actually, but not for long. Try explosion. Donadron took a level 10 fire spell to the face. 3 bolts of fire exploded around him. The spell was difficult to dodge, and it took away your vision. I had told Fran to chant the name of the spell to make it seem like she was the one casting it. In effect, Fran was free to use her sword arts while I took care of spell casting. Dragon Fang. It was a level 7 sword art, and I had buffed it with Vibrofang to boot. Fran charged at Donadron's large frame while he was trying to regain the footing he'd lost from the chain explosion. He must have recognized the nature of Fran's skill, for his eyes widened in a look of astonishment. This girl can chain fire magic and sword art one after another? Donadron was helpless to dodge the attack. I penetrated his side and sent his giant form flying. His 200-kilogram body flew 10 meters before slamming into the wall with a loud crash. There was a crater in it when the dust settled. This was my first time using it on an actual person who wasn't a monster. It looked to be a bit much though. Not that I thought it would have been enough to kill this giant of a man. Oh, thank God he's alive. He was coughing up blood but was otherwise conscious. Fran slowly approached him. Was she going to use healing magic on him? Just as I began to wonder, Fran pointed the tip of my blade at Donadron and asked him, "Do I pass?" A very reasonable question. I had completely forgotten this was supposed to be a test. "Yeah, you pass." "I see." This guy could still move? How tough was he? I stabbed him on the side. Donadron proceeded to surprise me even further as he plucked himself out of the wall and exploded into a bellow of laughter. The wound in his side was already healing. It seemed he really was holding back. If the man had been serious, he would have chopped us into small pieces with his axe and we wouldn't have been able to get a cut in. Fitting, considering it was just a test. Ha ha ha. You're the first newbie to mess me up this bad, little lady. This guy was a monster. Was there anything that could kill him? "Donadron, sir." The receptionist rushed in, no doubt attracted by the loud noise she'd been hearing. "Could you please refrain from—" Huh? Oh, I see. She must have expected to see the newbie all beat up and bloody. She didn't think Fran would blow her examiner away. What? The receptionist was shocked as she looked upon a bloody Donadron laughing among the rubble. With the examination over, Donadron took us to the highest floor of the guild where a blonde gentleman sat waiting for us. Ha ha ha, she beat me good. This is no laughing matter, Donadron. Judging by his ears, she was an elf. He was an elf. At a glance, he seemed weak, but... Name: Klimt. Age: 136. Race: Wood Elf. Class: Sorcerer. Level: 67. HP: 180. Magic: 616. Strength: 87. Agility: 158. Skills: Speed Casting 7. Identify 5. Bow Mastery 3. Harvesting 5. Wood Magic 7. Spirit Magic 8. Greater Earth Magic 6. Compounding 5. Earth Magic 10. Poison Resistance 3. Paralysis Resistance 4. Water Magic 5. Herbology 7. Cooking 4. Mana Manipulation. Child of the Forest. Unique Skill: Favor of the Spirits. Titles: Guildmaster, Guardian of Alessa, Wood Mage, Earth Mage. Equipment: Ancient Cherry Staff, Doppelsnake Robe, Windrake Wing Mantle, Lunar Hair Jump Boots, Armband of Sacrifice. He was stronger than Donadron. He had too many magic skills to even count. I'd never seen the Sorcerer class either. I expected nothing less from a Guildmaster. Let's get your name to start. Fran. Age: 12. Donadron was taken aback at this statement. What? So you really are as young as you look? So that was it. Fran was so strong, he thought her a member of a long-lived race. It was unthinkable that she wasn't part of one, given how strong she was. Donadron. Excuse me. Donadron bowed his head after the Guildmaster's reprimand. He wasn't cute at all. Still, Donadron acting nothing like he had before the examination. I thought he was an intense drill sergeant then, but now, he just seemed like a good-natured old man. I understand his sentiments though. Do you mean to tell me you have Fire Magic 10 when you're only 12? Is this some sort of joke? The Guildmaster furrowed his eyebrows. His gaze looked like it was trying to see to Fran's core. And I see you have identity protection as well. He had identify among his myriad of skills too. He must have used it on Fran to see whether she was lying. Fortunately, my identity protection prevented that from happening. Equipping me was enough for the skill to transfer to Fran. So it was a good thing we invested our EP in it. Though we were being needlessly suspected in exchange. Let's assume you really are 12. Where did you come from? That's a secret. He frowned some more. Do you think I'll be satisfied with that? My lips are sealed. Good grief. Well, this was worrying. I'd have to tell Fran to begin probing. Do I pass or not? You evenly match Donaldron. Of course you pass. Then give me a guild card. Alright, we're preparing it now. Fill out these documents, please. I could fill them out for you if you have trouble, of course. I'm fine. It seemed that Fran was literate, though I wasn't sure whether her parents had raised her that way or the slavers had taught her to give her more value as a slave. Always good to welcome a skilled adventurer on board, eh, Guildmaster? Yes, I suppose it is. The spirits aren't going into frenzy either. Spirits? Where? You won't be able to see them unless you're a sorcerer. What do the spirits do? The spirits are very sensitive to the state of one's emotions. They can immediately tell if you harbor any ill intentions. That sounded useful. I wanted some spirits for myself. But were there monsters that could use spirit magic? Can monsters use spirit magic? There are evil spirits which feed on evil intentions, so there are those rare monsters who could use spirit magic. Very unfortunate. I see. That was good news. They might be worth looking out for. The preparations are complete, Guildmaster. I see. Well, shall we? The Guildmaster led us to a small room next to the counter. In it was a crystal ball set on top of an altar. Lay your hand on this. It will be over in a second. It really was over in a second. It looked like the crystal ball had registered Fran's magic signature. The receptionist was fiddling with the ball from the side. Then she touched a card to it, which seemed to complete the process. Now, you'll have to pick out your class. Class? Yes, as everyone has different aptitudes, there are different benefits to picking each class. Now that he mentioned it, Randall had been a merchant. The Guildmaster was a sorcerer, which sounded as strong as Donaldron's warrior. Which class will you choose, Fran? Huh? What is it now? Well, her class options are quite incredible. Oh, we peeked from behind the Guildmaster. Fighter, swordsman, pugilist, spell sword, duelist, mage, flame mage, white mage, summoner, beast master, assassin, chemist, demolitionist, chef. That's a lot. It looked like the class options were affected by the skills Fran could use. She could even pick demolitionist and chef. Although I had spear mastery and spear arts, I had left them unequipped, which was why the related classes weren't up for selection. Oh my! The Guildmaster was at loss for words. He didn't look too pleased either. In any case, judging from how your match with Donaldron went, you seem to have a knack for either spell sword or mage. I guess we were okay. He was probably getting used to all these surprises at this point. So which one will you choose? Ask him for a recommendation. What do you recommend? Well, the spell sword, duelist, and flame mage classes are all intermediate classes that are quite unique. If you want to use both magic and your sword, go with spell sword. If you want to focus only on your sword, choose duelist. And if you want to focus on your spells, choose flame mage. I see. Which one do you want, Fran? Spell sword sounds cool. Let's go with that then. The spell sword class seemed to be the one with the most beneficial effects anyway. Spell sword, intermediate class. Unlocked when a sword skill and a magic skill are at level 6 or above. Effects: gain additional strength and magic upon leveling up. Increases the chance of learning a new sword and magic skill. Increases the strength of sword and magic skills. There was one more thing I had to be clear. Can I change classes again later? Yes, you can come to the guild at any time to change your class. However, you can only get the effects of your equipped class. For example, your stats will change significantly should you change to Duelist from Spell Sword. As well, job changing to a lower class would significantly reduce your stats. You would also lose access to skills unique to specific classes. That was about how I expected the class system to work, so I was okay with it. We might as well pick Spell Sword for now, since we'd confirmed we could change classes down the road if we wanted to. I'll take Spell Sword. Then, here is your guild card. The card appeared to be an ordinary bronze card. Fran's name was listed on it along with her guild affiliation, class, and adventurer rank. The guild card will act as your ID. A reissue cost 5,000 G. The card only responds to its owner's magic signature, but do your best not to lose it regardless. The guild master proceeded to tell us about basic guild procedure. It was an explanation usually given by the guild receptionist, but we had gained his attention, for better or worse. Here were the bullet points of his talk. You could only take up guild quest that corresponds with your adventurer rank, plus or minus 1. There were also rank up quests when you wanted to move up. G and F rank cards were bronze, E and D were black, B was silver, A was gold, and S was platinum. You could sell any materials regardless of your rank. There was no annual fee, but if you didn't take any quest after a set amount of time, you would get demoted and eventually removed from the guild. Any acts of betraying the guild would also get you kicked out. The guild wasn't responsible for any fights you got into with your fellow adventurers. The last point was likely personally directed at Fran. She was raising too many flags. And now, you're an adventurer. Okay. Is there anything else you want to ask? It wasn't a question so much as it was a request. Are you going to announce the results of my examination? No, the guild does not circulate the abilities of individual adventurers. Good. You don't want to stand out? Not in a bad way. Let's make a deal. I, Donadront, and the receptionist will keep quiet about you. It is much more convenient for us anyway. Donadront oversees assembling the adventurers in case of emergency, and it would trouble us if people began questioning his authority. I think it would be a crying shame, but if you want us to keep quiet for you, little lady, I'll oblige. Not that you could lay low for long, considering how strong you are. I couldn't deny that, but I guess this meeting turned out okay. We spoke to the receptionist Nell after receiving our guild card. Do you want to take on a quest? Her question reminded me that we had to sell off our materials if we wanted to stay the night at an inn. I had almost forgotten following the barrage of information we got after receiving our guild card. I have some goblin horns. You'll want the quest report counter then, right this way. Now that Fran was a proper adventurer, Nell, the receptionist, politely responded to her needs. As the face of the guild, her manners were impeccable. I have some materials I want to sell. Then please head to the trading counter and wait for me there. I'll just count the number of goblin horns you're turning in. Okay. 8 pairs makes 160 G. Would that be alright? That wasn't enough for a night's stay. We needed 300 G at the very least, and I'd like to stay at a decent inn if possible. We made our way to the trading counter. Will you be selling individual parts? There's a special area to the side in case the parts you're selling are too big or aren't carved yet. If it's still too big, we have a special room where we can properly assess its value, Nell explained. If the goblin horns were the indication, the low-rank monster parts would only sell as much as the black bug parts I had sold to Randall on the way into the city. They were just way too cheap. They were going to be a bit bigger, but I was going to take out the mid-rank monster parts. They're a little big. Then you can have them delivered to that spot over there. Where do you have them stored? High-quality materials will need careful handling. Oh yeah, I guess we didn't look like we had anything on hand. Judging by the many people in town who had item pouches on their belts when I identified them, storage space wasn't that rare of a skill. It should be safe for me to use it here. I'll take it out now. I'd be the one in charge of the inventory, of course. This was one of the drawbacks of skill sharing. Although Fran could use Pocket Dimension, she didn't have access to my inventory, and I didn't have access to hers. I had Fran pretend to take things out of her inventory and leave it on the trading area. I began by clearing out my low-rank materials, with the first monsters Fran had ever killed coming first. Specifically, the twin-headed bear's claws and fur. The bear's guts were apparently used in making medicines, but I shoved it back inside the Pocket Dimension until I could find containers for it. It would stink up the place all by itself. Next came 2 sets of pelts and fangs from the poison fang rats. How did you find these? I killed them on the way here. And you carved them? All by yourself? Yeah. We were getting unwanted attention from the surrounding adventurers, stealing glances at us and smirking. Were they implying we shouldn't be selling such low-rank materials? Alright, let's up the ante a little bit. Next, I took out the materials from the monsters in Area 2 and 3 of the grasslands. From the giant bat, we had its wings membrane, venom fang, and hollow bone. From the crushed boar, we had its tusk, pelt, and skull. From the rock bison, we had its shell and horns. They weren't that strong, but these should be enough to buy a few nice lodgings and some basic armor. We definitely would have enough if we sold the tyrant saber tooth and the doppel snake materials, but I decided against it. They might come in handy as material for Fran's equipment, and we risk standing out too much. One look at the guild master's doppel snake robe and Donadron saber-tooth mantle was enough to tell me that these were good enough for high-rank adventurers to wear. Selling them here would only cause an upset. Nell frowned. Were the monsters too strong for someone as young Fran to have beaten? They were among the monsters that gave low-rank adventurers a tough time after all. We didn't have much choice considering the low-rank materials didn't sell for much. We could stand out just this once and get it over with. Should we sell all our low and mid-rank materials? What do you think? We may as well get it over in one go. You're right. Okay, I'm gonna bring out the rest of the stuff now. I took out the stone spider silk sack, fangs and shell, the tunnel mole's claws and pelt, the paralysis cat's pelt and claws, and left them on the trading floor. We didn't sell meat since I wanted to keep it for Fran's meals. This is all of it. Okay, please wait while I assess them. It looked like Nell had identified a connoisseur on her. She must have been a genius. She called 3 other receptionists and they proceeded to assess our loot. It took 10 minutes of non-stop identify until they finished. Thank you for waiting. That will be 195,000 G in total. Will that be alright? Excuse me? 195,000 G? Seriously? Wasn't that too much? It would have been alright with 30,000 G, to be honest. That's a lot of money. I assure you, it's reasonably priced. There were F-rank monster materials thrown in there, and the condition of the material is impeccable. That's why we threw in a bonus. I don't remember us being too careful when we were carving them, but I guess it made sense that a damaged pelt wouldn't sell as much as one that was in fine condition. Take the twin-headed bear's pelt for example. It usually sells for 6,000 G, but the pelt you brought was spotless. Also, not only did you skin it beautifully, you carved up the entire bear to boot. That's why we're buying it for 18,000 G. 3 times? Wow, I guess the other materials were in similar condition and the profits just stacked up on top of the other. I'd take whatever I could, so I wasn't complaining. Here is your pay. Please make sure you have the correct amount. Thanks." Fran shoved the money into her pocket dimension. It would be a mess if it fell on the floor. It was also the best anti-pickpocket measure. Bye. With our money secured, Fran turned around to leave the guild. "Now, you, wait just a minute." That was when one of the adventurers blocked her path.